a big mistake that I've made so many times in so many different sales calls is spraying and praying, right? Instead of being targeted, instead of aiming. And in this video, I'm going to be explaining exactly what I mean by spraying and praying and how it's having a negative impact on your sales calls and exactly what you can do to fix it and to close more deals and to make more money. If you're wondering who I am, my name's Oliver. I've closed over $1.5 million in sales over the last few years, and I make these videos because these days I work with online businesses and help them scale their sales teams, and I hope to, number one, attract clients with these videos, hopefully, who think I know what I'm talking about. And number two, I hope to help other people similar to me. You know, in the past when I was struggling with sales, I hope to make things easier for you. Anyway, so if you're wondering why Mr. Iron Mike is on the screen right now, it's because he is a great example of somebody who aims and then fires as opposed to just sprays and prays. Now, you can see him delivering a nice little knockout blow here. And the reason I used old Mike for this is because he isn't just a knockout artist in that he just punches people wildly and they just get knocked out. Instead, what he is a master of positioning for the knockout blow, right? He doesn't just deliver knockout power. He knows how to position himself to deliver insanely effective knockout blows. And you need to know how to position yourself to deliver knockout responses to objections or to whatever people say on sales calls and move the needle and actually start closing the deal. So let's talk a little bit about conviction, right? So if we're going back to the spray and pray kind of analogy, so conviction comes in two different forms. You've got raw and you've got targeted, right? And raw conviction is just being convicted, just trying to convince somebody with just pure passion and energy and whatever. And targeted conviction is being very specific in exactly what you're saying to get the deal over the line, right? So let's just have a look at these two things. I'm not saying that targeted conviction doesn't have passion and doesn't have energy and doesn't have whatever. It's just more specific, so you don't need to do as much. You don't need to say as much because what you're saying, you're more efficient. You move the needle more effectively by being targeted as opposed to just being raw. Let me just give you like a real life example, right? So I've been in a sales call many times where I have tried to close the deal and sometimes succeeded by just being convicted, just like, you know, trust me, you know, like this is definitely gonna get you there. Like we can do this together. Like I'm gonna be with you every single step of the way. Just real, like genuine, raw conviction, just passion and energy, just trying to move the needle for that person, right? And this can be fantastic. And I think honestly, like there's so many deals that I've closed purely based on raw conviction, and I'm like, thumbs up, great job. Like that was a good deal that you closed. But I could have done better. I could have been more targeted. I could have said less and got the same outcome had I have been more targeted. So just to give you an example of what this looks like, right? So being raw in your conviction is slow. It's slow, like it takes a lot of it to actually start moving the needle significantly. Right? It starts draining you. It's tiring. It's inefficient, right? So you're just having to throw as much. You're throwing everything at them, right? You're being raw. You're being convicted. You're being you're being passionate, and it is working, or it can work, but it takes a lot of energy. It takes, you know, if you close the deal or if you don't close the deal, you come off that call and you're fried. You're absolutely nuked, right? Whereas when you're more targeted in your conviction, it's faster because you're saying less. It's more efficient because you're saying less and achieving the same outcome. You're quite literally like more leveraged in what you're doing. And it's energizing because when you are delivering those concise, convicted, targeted responses to people's objections, you know it's landing like a bloody tactical nuke on them. and you just that just hypes you up. You just know you're killing it. You know you're crushing their objections, and you know you're not relying on just pure passion and energy to do it. You know that you're like a specialist, that you're just being like a ninja on it, right? And it feels good, and it energizes you, right? Or at least it takes less energy. It's less tiring. I think at the very least it's like a neutral. I mean, all sales calls take energy, but I think it's better. So raw conviction works, targeted conviction works, but it's better. It's faster, it's more efficient, and it feels good to do it. It feels better. If we liken it, like, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. If we liken it to, like, I thought Call of Duty was a great example for this, right? So if we liken it to, like, shooting a gun, so raw conviction is like hip fire. So, you might have 30 bullets in the chamber, and you just spray at your opponent, and in this case, your enemy. It is an objection in the sales call. You spray in, you hip fire in. You might hit them, you might not. Sometimes you kill them, sometimes you don't. Sometimes they kill you, right? Now, on the other side, you've got aiming down the sight, right? ADS. And it's more targeted, it's tight, it's a tight, accurate pattern. Read those words. It's like inaccurate, short-term pattern, short-range pattern here, right? Tight, accurate pattern. So you're being tighter in your approach, in your handling of their objection. You're being more accurate. You're being inaccurate with the hip fire. You might hit them, but you're more likely to hit them when you're aiming down the sight, right? And the difference is, if you've ever played Call of Duty or any kind of game with guns where you're shooting, you'll know you have ammunition in your clip. And better to kill an enemy in like 5 bullets than 25 bullets like you would be if you hip fire and you're just spraying and hoping. Because when another enemy comes along, you kill the first one, the second guy comes in the room, and then it's like, in the first case where you've been hip firing, you're out, you've got to reload. Do you get to reload in time? Maybe not. Maybe it takes more skill to win in that scenario. The guy who's aiming down the sight, he's just got another 25 bullets in the chamber ready to just take that other enemy out, that other objection out, without having to reload, without having to do whatever. And then when they have a moment, they can reload at the right time, less risk, whatever. It's the exact same scenario. So it's just like hip firing. It's like spray and pray. It's inefficient. You can lean on it and say, oh, well, it works, like I killed the enemy. But it's like, yeah, but over a long enough time horizon, it's gonna fail you. It's gonna tire you out. It's gonna slow you down. And yeah, aiming down the sight just makes so much more. Aiming down sights makes so much more sense. You want the red dot, you want the ACOG or whatever it's called. It's been ages since I played Call of Duty, so you get what I'm saying. Anyway, so if we just talk about endurance for a second here, I'm just going to put my face here. So if we talk about endurance for a second, when I'm talking about endurance, I'm thinking about like in one call. It's like how much endurance you've got, right? I constantly take 90 minutes, 120 minutes on a sales call, loads of times. Many of my calls have been an hour and a half, well, more typically an hour and a half, hour and 45, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, like seriously taxing, tiring calls, right? And I've closed the deal, let's just say, many times and been, thought this has been great. And then I've realized I could have done this faster. I could have been more efficient. I've listened to the sales call recording back, which, by the way, if you're not doing, you should absolutely do. I've listened to the call recording back, and I've been like, oh my God, like, they said this at 1 hour and 2 minutes into the call, and I only, addressed it, hour and 14 minutes in. In the middle, I was just trying to throw everything at me in raw conviction, spraying and praying, hip firing my responses. And the second I came back round to what they said to me, because I knew what I needed to do, I knew where I needed to target, and aimed my, down my scope at that point that I needed to focus on, and sprayed a few shots off, just a couple, directly at what I needed to target. Bang, objection handled, and I could have saved myself 12 minutes and loads of yapping and energy being used, and it would have been better, it would have been more efficient. So when you're thinking about endurance in a call, remember, you want it to be as quick as possible, so you have the most endurance, you operate at your highest level of energy for the most time possible throughout the call. If you've been on a call for 3 hours, you're not going to be operating the same way that you're operating at 30 minutes in or 45 minutes in or an hour in, right? So you need to think like, yes, you might have stamina. I've got stamina. I can be on a call for 2 hours and still be just totally dialed in. But this is the other thing, right? It's one thing to have endurance in a call. So remember, the whole point I'm trying to make here is you want to be more efficient so you don't have to have as much endurance. Or you still want to be someone with loads of endurance, but then you don't have to use it. So instead of over like an hour going from like 100% energy to like 20% energy, you want it to be like over an hour, you're going from 100% to like 90%. And if you would have gone to that 2 hours, maybe you would have gone down to 20%. But because you're being efficient, because you're aiming down the sight, because you're being focused, it's only taking you an hour. So you still got loads of energy. You come off the call, you're like, that was a walk in the park. Who's next? Next call, you're like, let's go. And this brings me on to my last point. Longevity, right? It's not just about each individual sales call, right? It's about all the sales calls that you take all the time. And if you are leaning on raw conviction and just passion to close deals, which I have done for months and it has exhausted me, you will not survive long, right? Sales is tiring. Sales is, it's a marathon. It's an ultra marathon when you're doing it for months and years like I have, right? And if you want to play the long game, you've got to become more efficient and spend less energy and less bandwidth per close, per call. And then on the other side of things, 6 months from now, instead of being like, damn, like I need to stop this, 6 months from now, you're like the party's only just getting started. Like you're getting better. It's like exercise, right? You don't just go all out every single time you go in a workout. You've got to be efficient. You've got to manage your recovery. It's the exact same principles. So the whole point I'm trying to make in this video, and like this is the end now, is just be targeted and efficient and in your conviction, in how you deliver things in your call, right? In your responses. When you're more targeted, you get to the point faster, it's more efficient, and you use less energy. And do that on a long enough time horizon. In one call, that makes the call faster and better and just overall more efficient. But then over 1,000 calls, it saves you so much time and so much energy and allows you to play the game for longer, which is the point. Anyway, thank you so much for watching the video. So before we finish, I just want to say that if you're interested in having a conversation with me directly about how I can help your sales team, company, whatever, there is a link in the description that will allow you to book a call with me directly. It's not a sales call, I actually promise you. It is a genuine conversation call. I will not pitch you. I will not do anything weird or salesy on you. I will genuinely just understand if I can help your business and what that might look like. And then on the second call that we have, then I will pitch you. So if you're interested, book a call. Thanks so much for watching the video. Like, subscribe, whatever you got to do if you enjoyed it, if you want to see more, and I will see you in the next one.